Good evening, all. IEEE Pune section welcomes you to this very special webinar that we have organized jointly with NCRA to celebrate the International Astronomy Day 2021. First of all, let me start off with wishing you all a very happy and very exciting Astronomy Day 2021. It is indeed a great privilege to have the NCRA team and celebrate a very important event that has happened in recent times, that was of having the GMRT setup being made a milestone for IEEE, and this is the third milestone in India, and indeed a very proud moment that this happens to be in Pune, and it's a very proud moment for IEEE Pune section as well as NCRA for having got this recognition as an IEEE milestone. Let me give you a quick view of the overall seminar or the webinar that we have lined up for today. We will have 3 sessions. The first session will be anchored by the NCRA team. The second section will be by the IEEE team chaired by our chair Girish Khilari. And the third session, which will have a talk by Ajit Kembavi from PKC. And also we will discuss a way forward on the collaboration that we could possibly do along with the NCRA team and IEEE Pune section. Let's start off with the session 1, where we will hear an overview of NCRA and GMRT by Professor Yashwant Gupta and his colleagues. Let me take a few moments to give you a quick brief about our friends from NCRA. Professor Yashwant Gupta, he is the Center Director for NCRA TIFR, Indian astrophysicist and Center Director for NCRA. His research work is focused mainly on study of pulsars, exotic neutron stars, and the interstellar medium of our galaxy. He has significant interest and involvement in instrumentation and signal processing in radio astronomy. Over the years, he has contributed greatly to the building and running of GMRT Observatory, a world-class instrument built and operated by NCRA. We also have Mr. Suresh Kumar, Senior Engineer of NCRA, Dr. Yogesh Vadadekar, NCRA, and Dr. J.K. Solanki, Head of Admin and Finance for NCRA campuses. And again, he has been a great host to us during our visits to GMRT as part of the entire IEEE milestone process as such. So with that, let me invite Dr. Yashwant Gupta to take over the proceedings of session 1 and enlighten us about the NCRA and GMRT setup along with his colleagues. Yashwant, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dina, and I hope you all can hear me. First of all, let me thank the entire IEEE Pune team for organizing this. I mean, what started as our initial discussions about finding ways in which we can work together since the time of the IEEE milestone event has now led to this, which I think is a very good sign. And we really welcome this interaction. And so what we wanted to do today is to give an overview of what we do at NCRA. And we decided to split that into 4 different presentations. I will start by giving an overview of NCRA with more focus on the technical activities. And then 3 of my colleagues, Mr. Suresh Kumar, Professor Yogesh Vadadekar, and Dr. Solanki, will cover different aspects where we feel that there are possibilities of working together with IEEE. And these will be aspects which cover societal issues, technical education, outreach amongst the local community around the GMRT. So with that, we hope that we can do a fairly comprehensive coverage of the areas that we would be interested in going forward for more detailed discussions for possible areas of collaboration with the IEEE Pune section. So with that introduction, let me start to give you a brief historical sketch of the NCRA. It is originally the radio astronomy group of the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. It was one of the earliest radio astronomy groups in the country, started by the late Professor Govind Swarup in the 1960s. And this group, over the 5 decades or so, has built up steadily in terms of both scientific as well as technology reputation, building different facilities in the country and using them to do cutting edge research in various branches of astrophysics. We started with one of the first major facility that group built was the Ooty Radio Telescope in the late 1960s, which is actually still operational and producing a very good quality science, and in fact, it's being upgraded with new receiver systems. And then there was an intermediate step when the group built the Ooty Synthesis Radio Telescope in the late 1980s, which was an important stepping stone to building the Giant Meter Wave Radio Telescope, which was built in the 1990s and has been operational since then. It is truly a world-class facility working at low radio frequencies, roughly in the range of 100 to 1450 megahertz. And we'll talk more about these things in a moment. And recently, we've completed a major upgrade of the GMRT, which has improved its sensitivity as well as made it a more versatile facility, thereby keeping it in the forefront of the global scenario. And NCRA also leads participation in other projects, for example, the International SKA project, which aims to build the next generation facility for radio astronomy. So we are part of that project. So if you look at as an organization, the profile, then there are the academic section of NCRA, which has the radio astronomers who are the regular faculty members who can be doing research in astrophysics. They could also be helping and running of the observatory. And we also have scope for faculty members who could be developing core technologies which are relevant for radio astronomy and allied areas. And along with that are the postdoctoral fellows and the PhD students who participate actively along with the faculty members in the research in astrophysics. And there are many areas of that research work, which we won't go into the details of that today. On the other side is the technical team, which is a fairly large team of more than 135 or so engineering and technical staff, mostly at GMRT, some at Ooty, and a few at the Pune campus. And this group covers a variety of expertise, from radio frequency electronics to optical fiber technology, digital electronics, signal processing, servo mechanical engineering, software and computing. And some of this we'll talk about a bit more in detail. And as I mentioned, our group runs these two facilities, the Ooty Radio Telescope and the GMRT. And we do have a presence in the larger international projects in the world. So since I talked about it, the Ooty Telescope, as I already mentioned, is still going strong, and it's being upgraded, just like the GMRT was recently upgraded after running for several years. In terms of the nature and scope of the activities, then the research programs using the in-house facilities as well as international facilities, as well as some theoretical studies of that happens at NCRA. From the technology side, there is a fair bit of technology development at the in-house facilities, including improvements and upgrades for those, and maintaining and operating the facilities. And as I mentioned, participation in large international projects. In addition to that, there is a good amount of work that NCRA does for user community development and training programs. So for example, for the PhD students, we run a graduate school which trains them in the basic skills needed for doing research in astrophysics. In addition, we have programs like the Radio Physics Lab, which is aimed, which is run in collaboration with IUCAA and is aimed at the younger generation to enthuse them and become interested in radio astronomy. And summer and winter visiting student programs In addition to that, we have an annual open house program at the GMRT called the GMRT Science Day, which is actually a 2-day event, and we'll hear more about this, plus other outreach activities and programs. And as I said, we'll hear more about the details of this and how we could synergize in doing this. So we'll just, since this is an audience which is not very familiar, I'll just step back for a couple of minutes to describe what we do in radio astronomy and what are the challenges and what are the technologies that become important and relevant for doing this. So basically, you can study the universe at different wavelengths, and the radio window, which allows us to receive signals with the Earth-based radio telescope, is a complementary way to study the universe when compared to the optical astronomy or the other branches of astronomy that have come up subsequently. And so if you can ask, well, how does the radio telescope work? In principle, it's no different from your satellite dish. It receives signals coming from outer space and collects them, amplifies them, filters them, and you detect them, and you get an output which allows you to detect radio sources in a very simple-minded manner. But the real challenge here is that the signals that we work with are very weak, much weaker than what we use for any man-made transmission. So since this is an audience which understands electrical engineering, the power levels of the signals that we deal with when they reach us at the telescopes is like minus 100 dBm power level. And so this, when coupled with the fact that any receiver system produces noise of its own, makes it a challenge for us to be able to collect enough of this signal against the competition of the noise that gets added and be able to amplify it and bring it out in a manner where it can be detected. And so to cut a long story short, what we end up having to do is to build very large antennas so that you can collect as much of the signal as possible. In fact, we end up building arrays of antennas so that you can get the desired resolution when you study these sources, and high quality low noise electronics to minimize the intrinsic unwanted noise from the receiver system, and again build receivers with as large a bandwidth as possible, hundreds of megahertz, because most of the sources that we study do transmit over wide bands of frequencies, and observe for long durations so that when you integrate the data over long durations, you can try to beat down the noise and increase the signal to noise ratio. So what that leads to is huge facilities of this kind, where there are large single dish antennas as well as large arrays of antennas which are built in order to be able to get sensitive, high resolution observations of the universe at radio frequencies. And I'll exemplify that a bit later with our own GMRT. Just one slide just to say, why do we do all this? That's because there are many fascinating things in the universe that one can study, including many new discoveries that have been made via radio astronomy, which has taught us a huge amount about the universe. And again, we don't have time to go into it, but these go all the way from studying our local system, sun and our solar system, all the way to the very early universe and how it began. And so I don't have time for showing even a couple of examples. So what I'll do is I'll move on and say, as I said, that one of the closest and also one of the major observatories in the world is our own GMRT, and it is located not too far from Pune, 80 kilometers. It's spread out over a 30-kilometer region. So it's an array of antennas, and it was made operational around 2002, and it has made many interesting new discoveries over the 19 years or so that it's been in operation. As I mentioned earlier, we recently upgraded it to keep it right up with the best facilities in the world. And when one looks at an observatory like the GMRT, one can see that there are many subsystems, each of fairly high-tech in their engineering content, which range all the way from mechanical to servo to the RF electronics for antennas, to the wideband receiver chain, wideband optical fibers transport system, the digital system, and then the monitor control telemetry system, the software for running the entire array of antennas, and the software for processing the data and making sense out of it. And each of this involves a fairly sophisticated technology. I'll just illustrate that, and therefore the scope for working with the frontline institutions, which the IEEE has reached to. And just given and just to say that all of this is done in-house by our own teams, and so we have groups which handle the different aspects of the technology that is needed in such systems, and there's a lot of expertise in all of these areas, and that's where we would like to see how we can synergize this for further developments. And so this is a typical kind of a receiver system that we have. This is the one for the upgraded GMRT, where you can see the wide bandwidth over which the individual subsystems of the receiver work. And I'll again just very quickly go through it, not spend too much time. This is an example of one of the wideband electronics designed and built by our own team, which is installed at the focus of each of the 30 antennas. This is an example of the wideband optical fiber transport system, which brings back the signals with a fairly high dynamic range from each of the 30 antennas. This is an example of the digital backend that operates to combine the signals from all the 30 antennas over a 400 megahertz bandwidth capability in order to implement the final data products that the astronomer can use for doing the science. And so these, as you can see from the numbers, are fairly sophisticated technologies that are in operation. And the last but not the least is the ability to process the data and convert it into images that make sense. So going from what the raw data looks like without calibration and processing to the final processed image that the astronomer can use for doing science. So all of these are things that are interesting. So this I won't spend time on because Dina has already talked about this, that we just got this. All I want to say is that this is one thing that has brought us closer to the IEEE, and that's why we are here to discuss. So I'll end just with a couple of comments about what our future plans, and then that would help us in the discussion when we talk about things that we can work synergistically. So we ourselves are working on incremental improvements to the upgraded GMRT, adding new observing modes, trying to see if we can further expand frequency coverage, next generation signal processing that we would like to put in, improve data archival analysis techniques. And so all of this will be there. There's always incremental improvements on any system that you build. In the longer term, we have plans to see if we can expand the GMRT to a bigger and more powerful facility. It would be like a next upgrade, which has various things that are being considered, adding more antennas into the array, or increasing the field of view of the individual antennas by new technology receiver systems. And then there is the thing about the participation in the large projects like the SKA, where we are looking to be part of the construction phase of the SKA, which is expected to start in the near future, with aims for contributing in different areas covering hardware, software, data processing, and related things. So many of these require all the modern techniques that one would like and are in big favor nowadays. And that's where we see significant scope for collaboration with institutions like the IEEE. So with that, I'll stop with the summary. And then I guess we can then move on to the next speaker.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gupta. Samiksha, if you can make Suresh Kumar as the presenter, please.
So my presentation here is that to improve the technical education in GMRT neighborhood. So the initiative to this is that many people visit GMRT, the students and the engineering colleges and technical institutes. The common question is that how we get into this place and what is the service to the human community. Okay, so based on these questions, we started working on how to develop share the knowledge of this great technical institute to the neighborhood. And since GMRT has its own responsibilities, we can't venture into a larger this thing. So we are restricted at least to develop the technical manpower around the GMRT. And we started working on some of the survey and some of the efforts, whatever possible, which I'm going to present here. And the initiative with the IEEE, that's really a very good initiative by Professor Yashwant. And I have a lot of dreams on this. And I think that many things can come out as a result of this. So let me move to the next slide. So Professor has already explained, Yashwant has explained so many expertise in the field. In simple word, I'll say that the radio astronomy does the extreme engineering in all fields. Let it be a civil or electrical or a mechanical or a computing facility or a power electronics, whatever may be. The radio telescope needs some extreme engineering. And GMRT has been grown from scratch to build this extreme engineering systems from scratch, basically. And we have developed the skill on that. So we would like to share these expertise to the next generation and develop the manpower around GMRT on these skills. So we started exploring with technical institutions around GMRT, and the feedback is that the feedback is that the educational institutes face a problem like getting a summer project or a vocational training program for the students, which is a must for their academic career, and they are not able to do because Pune city is about 80 kilometers away, and they have an accommodation facility, logistics, so many things. So these students are really in big trouble. That is what the educational institute heads have been telling to us. Then the second thing is that the final year project or the projects which they are doing, the guidance, lagging of guidance, and the test facility for their projects. So these are the difficulties for the students around, whether it is an ITI or a diploma or an engineering. So this is a common problem being faced. The third one is the faculty development program. Okay, you know that all technical institutes for the faculty, every year they have this faculty development program. They have to rush to some of the city-based colleges to attend this, and it's not that always possible every faculty gets able to attend this. So a local availability will be of help to them. That is what has been expressed by them. Then the other thing is that, okay, coming to GMRT, how we try to do this. Okay, but we found that even though we do at a very minimal level, whatever possible, we find these constraints. One is the constraint at the GMRT or the lab, and the limited instruments and test facilities, because during daytime the equipments and labs will be busy, but whereas in nights they are available. And then as administrative support to coordinate with the technical institutions and the GMRT technical team. So that is also was needed. And other thing is that the technical faculties of these institutions, the teaching faculty, they said that if we undergo a training program at GMRT, how it is getting recognized. For example, the staff, when the training is recognized to them, it will help in their career, like AICT and kind of senior, the higher level authorities. Same with the students. So they were asking us whether you can provide us some recognized or certified courses or training program, so that it will benefit them when they undergo, even though they acquire knowledge, but the recognition is one which they were sorting from us. So the other thing is that the current situations like pandemic situations, the restricted lab space, and logistic reasons, etc. iLabs is nothing new to IEEE. MIT has been doing for years, and IEEE has standards which is for IEEE. iLabs developed a lot. So GMRT can be one of the iLab for all the engineering colleges and the technical institutions around. An iLab setup could be created, and that could help. Like even though people attend online lectures and classes nowadays, but they lack the experimental hands-on experience, like lab practicals are not conducted for them. So during this pandemic situation or any natural calamity time period, these iLabs will be handy. These students can get their practical hands-on experiences from GMRT with the iLab setup. And this is one other thinking we are into it. So we started doing a survey, how much we can actually support. So we took roughly a radius of 50 kilometers around GMRT. We have covered some of the villages, and this includes ITI institutions of 12, which is of government and private. This is a list of technical ITI institutions, and then diploma and degree colleges. You are around 13 around GMRT within 50 kilometers. We have not ventured beyond that because we know that the manpower and the time, amount of time to be spent, okay, so needs to be expanded for this. But at this level, we are comfortable, I can say. Then the last slide, I can say that what is the possible joint program between GMRT and IEEE could have. I just listed it out. I read it so that I spend time here. The faculty development program on various engineering field could be jointly conducted by these two organizations. Expert lectures and student training program through experimentation. Okay, the hands-on experience is what lagged by this technical manpower in Pune and other colleges I've seen there. So, and I've been many times interview these candidates for at various places, and I go for a public lectures. I see them, they lack the hands-on experience. They read, they know the technical things, theoretical, but not the practical. So where we could help them. Then IEEE GMRT award programs could be created. Like already we have Science Day, which is running for years at GMRT. We do conduct some award programs, like we appreciate the students with some certificate and prizes. So we can make this as IEEE GMRT award programs so that the recognition is good enough and good participation from various technical institutions also could be done. So we can expand this. Then certified student projects and summer vacation training program. This will be of help for their placements. And iLab is one thing which I told the benefit. And the organizing conferences jointly with the education institutions. This is one other thing the faculty of these technical institutes express, that we can organize conferences. They have the infrastructure, like some of the government colleges around. They have it, they say we have about 40% of free space available and infrastructure is there, but we need somebody to organize conferences and all the colleges and institutions could join. So we were looking into these aspects also. Then we can have an industry tie-up under GMRT IEEE umbrella so that we can get this technical manpower development based on the industry's certification of various courses so that industries recognize and help them in their placements. And other thing is expanding technical library at GMRT. We have a very good library at NCRA and GMRT. We have the latest of engineering books and journals in our GMRT as well as NCRA. We would like to expand it and make it little digital so that the students could access it. So these are the areas. And finally, GMRT has one more interest. We would like to develop technical manpower or a skilled manpower around GMRT. That will be good for GMRT and the industries around. So this is one of the reasons for taking initiative in this program. And I conclude here. I think my time is 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suresh. Samiksha, if you can give control to Dr. Yogesh, please.
Yeah. So I'm going to be talking about science outreach activities at NCRA. Our flagship program is what we call the GMRT Science Day. It's organized around the National Science Day, which is celebrated on February 28th. And we do it over a 2-day period. And in that time, we get more than 20,000 participants from all across Maharashtra state, including faraway places like Nanded, Parbhani, Kolhapur, etc. And this probably represents the largest annual science festival in a rural area in the entire country. As part of the Science Day activities, we have science project competitions for all age groups, all the way from middle school to the master's level. In addition to this, we have a number of public talks, science demonstrations, models and posters highlighting the engineering capabilities and the scientific research being carried out at the GMRT, as well as other institutions. So we have a lot of scientific institutions, mostly within Pune district, who come up and put up their exhibits about the research and other work that they are carrying out. This year, of course, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we could not have a real full-scale science day. So we had a replacement, which was a virtual event through which we were able to reach out to literally thousands of students who participated in the science project competition. In addition to this, we also do regularly astronomy public outreach activities in the villages in the GMRT area. And this consists of three parts. First is a slide illustrated talk, followed by a green laser star show and telescope viewing. And this activity is concentrated in villages close to the Khodak village where GMRT is headquartered. And these are of course done in the non-monsoon months. And we usually get in touch with the school, and the program is conducted in the playground of the village school by the public outreach group at GMRT, which consists of volunteers from the astronomers, from the engineers, as well as administrators who come together to carry out this activity. The first activity of the evening, soon after sunset, is a slide illustrated talk for which we carry our own generator and LCD projector, loudspeaker, screen, etc. So we are not affected if the power goes out. And we choose topics for the talk which are simple and relate to what can be seen at the sky at that time. So for example, if the Orion Nebula is in the sky, we talk about nebulae. If the Andromeda Galaxy is in the sky, then we start talking about the universe of galaxies. And the students are very, very enthusiastic, and it is very common for students to bring along their parents and very often their grandparents. So as you can see in this picture, the students are sitting in the front and their parents and grandparents are sitting at the back. This is followed by a round of questions which are always very numerous and very, very interesting. We follow this with what we call a green laser star show. So with the green laser pointer, we give a guided tour of the various constellations, planets and deep sky objects that are visible in the sky at that time. We explain the nakshatra system as well as Western constellations. And we are able to cater to, with just one laser pointer, about 150 people in one sitting. Very often we have a lot more people coming to our programs. In such situations, we just do multiple sessions. Whole families, as you can see here, the students come with their parents and grandparents, and everybody is enthusiastically trying to understand and ask questions about the objects that they're seeing in the night sky. This is then followed, or sometimes in parallel, done with the telescopic viewing session, where we try to we have multiple telescopes, so we can cater to multiple people at one time. So queues form behind each telescope, and we choose very, very bright objects like the moon, the planets, the Orion Nebula, Andromeda Galaxy, etc. As the objects to target. This entire program, we try to do it one program a month during the non-monsoon months. On average, we do end up doing between 7 or 8 programs, and each program is done in a different village each time. Attendance is usually between 100 and 500 people for each program, although one mega event that we had done at Narayangao in 2009 attracted about 5,000 people. Besides this, we NCRA members also go and talk to various organized groups, schools, colleges, astronomy clubs, planetaria, science centers, etc. And we talk about the research being done at NCRA, new developments at the GMRT in terms of new upgrades and technological developments, as well as astronomy topics in the news. Astronomy has won 4 out of 11 Nobel Prizes in the last 11 years. And so there is plenty to talk about in the field of astronomy. Our scientists also give talks outside of the Pune area as part of the activities of the Public Outreach Committee of the Astronomical Society of India, which holds its annual meeting in different towns of India every year. And our members go out there and they give talks in those areas. We have lots of other activities. For example, every Friday we have regular observatory visits. This is open to the public, but it's mostly engineering students who come there in groups, and we are able to have more than 10,000 students per year visiting. We have now, in recent years, developed a strong presence on social media through our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. We've also done several one-off programs which are related to events in the sky, and some which have been organized by others and to which we are invited, and some which we do in support of other activities at NCRA. And we've listed a few examples here, which include production of videos and eclipse viewing sessions, producing the production of a comic book for the transit of Venus in 2012, and a slew of programs in support of the Pune Astronomy Fortnight, which was organized just before the annual meeting of the Astronomical Society of India in 2015. Many of the NCRA members are associated with a trust known as the Khodad Rural Science Center, which was set up by Professor Govind Swarup about a decade ago. The center is physically housed in this building, which is located next to the village school in Khodad, and it conducts many science-related activities. They have a smart room, they have a well-stocked library, they have a science lab and computer lab. This center has received generous funding through CSR activities of some major Pune-based industries. They are organizing talks and workshops by external experts, and they try to focus on activities on topics that are more of rural, of local interest. So the current focus is on adolescent health and how that can be improved, how that can be taken care of. And there is also a focus on trying to improve agriculture by adopting best practices from all over. So I will end with a slide or where we see possible areas of collaboration with IEEE in the domain of public outreach. As has been mentioned by my colleague Suresh Kumar a little earlier, our activities are a little bit restricted or limited by our human resource, and all because our activities are done in addition to our regular work. We have several ideas, one of which is the setting up of a GMRT visitor center, which will be a mix of a museum, a hands-on activity center, and a science lab. We would like to build and distribute interactive models of the GMRT illustrated with suitable videos, which could be science museums, planetaria across the country. We would also like to participate in development of resource material which school college teachers can use in their regular teaching. So for example, they could use astronomy related concepts to teach things which are already part of the curriculum and organized around events such as Zero Shadow Day, eclipses, equinoxes, solstices, to teach basic concepts in physics and geography. Also, we can help develop courses in statistics, data analysis, programming, etc., topics where our NCRA members have a great deal of expertise. We would also try to build an archival project which could organize the extremely large amount of historical information about the radio astronomy group of TIFR, which has built all these facilities and telescopes, and put it into a searchable web-based archive. Of course, these are just ideas that we have thought of. I'm sure in the discussion that will follow today, some of these could be taken up for more detailed discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yogesh. Samiksha, if you can make Dr. Solanki as the presenter. And
thank you. Good evening to all. As we heard about GMRT and then the improvement of technical education and science outreach by our colleagues from GMRT, I'm talking something differently for a potential for development of agri-based and other appropriate technology in the GMRT region. As you know that GMRT set up and operated by NCRA TIFR is the world's largest radio telescope facility and has taken good amount of land in and around Narayangaon area, and people appreciate this because it is also playing a vital role in developing the advanced technology for state-of-art instrumentation required for radio astronomy. GMRT is also trusted globally and in the field of radio astronomy. If you look at the area around GMRT, GMRT is basically located in two talukas of Pune district, Junnar and Ambega taluka. Junnar taluka has something around 1385 square kilometer area, where about right now population is approximately 6 lakhs. And Ambega taluka is 1046 square kilometer, where population is around 4 lakh scattered. These are all historical places where you have Shivneri, which is Chhatrapati Shivaji's birthplace fort, and many other forts. Ojhar and 11th Ganesh temples, Bhima Shankar Jyotirling temple, important tourist place, various places are there in this. There are so many ghat sections in this taluka, there are tribal areas. There are many farmers having very less land holding, and 60% area of both this taluka is the agricultural land. There are 6 water reservoirs in these areas, and from these sources water is also released to Nagar and Solapur districts. Here mainly people, find farmers growing sugarcane, tomato, grapes, wheat, rice, vegetables, and in addition some areas in Ambega they grow potatoes. Tomato and grape markets are actually very famous in the country. There's one winery in Junnar Taluka at Narayana. See, there are a couple of sugar factories where they take care of, they are actually renowned in India. There are few milk dairy and dairy producers. There are small industrial setups around 100, and there are a lot of, there's one big industrial society in Junnar Taluka, and there are something around 400 workshop in that region right now. See, why GMRT wants to come into this in association with IEEE, I would like to say that it is interested and has desired to help the local community to do better in the agriculture and other technologies relevant to the local area. Just now, Professor Yogesh had shared that in Science Day, we also invite something around 8 to 10 research and institutes who are doing their research in agriculture, just to basically help our farmers to how best they can do in this thing. And also because we, as I said, we have taken a good amount of land from that area and set up this world's largest radio telescope, which requires certain RFI reduced environment or RFI radio frequency quiet zone. So this matches GMRT's goal for this thing, because when we acquired this land, the government of Maharashtra had agreed that this is declared as a no industrial zone, and people, if they want to set up any industry, people need to approach GMRT for the NOC. Also, the 30-kilometer radius area in and around GMRT Khoda, we required to protect radio quiet zone, and very recently, since beginning, WPC, that's Wireless Protection Committee, Wireless Allocation Committee, the government of India has also agreed and acknowledged this. GMRT frequently need to interact with farmers and industrialists for OFC, that is optical fiber cable, which is laid underground for almost 60 to 70 kilometers there. And also whenever they want to set up industries to avoid RFI or some kind of radio frequency disturbance to GMRT observations, so we need to interact. And overall, what we wanted, GMRT would like to coexist with all elements of society, but with protecting the main interest of GMRT, where we can see that the observations are also carried smoothly. At the other hand, as we said, along with GMRT, IEEE and its members inspire, that is your mission and vision is so clear that you, through your engineering expertise, knowledge, and wise, and being a trusted organization, IEEE will be playing a crucial role and important role here for social engineering and overall development of this segment, particularly in the agricultural base, because I liked your program, that is the special interest group in affordable agriculture, and I personally felt that these 4 talukas in and around GMRT, which are Junnar, Ambega, Shirur and Khed, it will be beneficial for them because of your programs in advanced technology for humanity, demonstrated pilot project that you had already done in various other parts of Maharashtra and others. So that will also be helpful. Then demo farms can be that you are putting at many places. The training programs, other day we heard from Mr. Jagdishji. There are many field visits and expert talks for farmers, affordable agriculture labs in various colleges that you have set up, weather stations also you have set up, research parks, diploma in farming, which is interesting thing. I thought it will be useful for this, but it is, to me, how we go about it, we can take it later, but this is an interesting thing that I like, that IEEE's program is more beneficial for this area along with GMRT, because being both the trusted organization and having no political motive, people will definitely believe in us to take this program further. being trusted organizations like in a GMRT can create a knowledge platform. See, if you remember in the beginning when myself, Professor Gupta started working in 2002-3 together, many people came and what GMRT can do. We said ki we will provide you a knowledge-based kind of programs, awareness and all this thing. And that is how you can see from that area onwards in and around GMRT, we had something around 10 to 15 engineering colleges came. So they have a trust that if GMRT can help us and give some awareness of programs and all this thing, so they will start believing in us. And that is why being both the IEEE and GMRT trusted organization, we can create a knowledge platform. Certain facilities like, to hold workshops, training programs and such things, GMRT can make certain facilities available. We will be having a 200-seater auditorium very soon functioning. When the situation is normal, like pandemic is over, all these things will be able to, whenever there is a Friday visit of students and all these things, we can also take part of this and populate our ideas about affordable agriculture. We do have employees working in GMRT, regular employees. They are actually farmers nearby Khodad and areas. Through them, we can talk to various groups of farmers to promote ideas of affordable agriculture and all things. As along with the technical education as well as science outreach, GMRT also can reach out to many schools and colleges as part of science outreach and populate this idea of affordable agricultural program and also the other programs of in association with IEEE to enhance and improve the living standards of those areas, even the tribal people, or even how do we improve the farmers' income and also the understanding and thinking, even if they are holding less amount of land and all these things. So both what Professor Yogesh or Mr. Suresh Kumar had mentioned earlier. So I think because we are the administrative people, we definitely want to reach out to farmers and this group along with IEEE for this development. And how to start with this, to me feel that we can have a kick-off workshop once the situation is normal. GMRT can invite bunch of farmers for this workshop along with IEEE expertise and say one workshop, what is our idea, we can populate that thing. Then discuss with couple of colleges in and around GMRT to set up affordable agriculture labs with help of IEEE, that you are affordable experts in this thing. We can discuss with couple of villages to set up weather station, train the college students or some students there to operate, measure and give this information to nearby villages so that they are also aware how these things happen about this. In long term, I'm saying help in identifying suitable village and establishing demo farms. Also, we can help GMRT and everything. To discuss with few colleges and institute to start diploma in farming. So this here I wanted to emphasize that diploma in farming, if IEEE come with some educational institute without any asking like 10 pass, 12 pass, but if we take the children who are, or the farmers, children or farmers himself, even if they have some less education around 8th standard, 10th standard, like what Vignan Ashram Pabal does, the rural technology based on 6th standard, 8th standard, 9th standard, whether we can have a certificate course of in farming or a diploma in farming with association with IEEE, we can help in getting this in a long term this and to set up a research park like what we have in Pune University campus in one of the areas in that particular 4 talukas. We think that this will be a good beginning for both GMRT and IEEE. With this also, I say thank you very much and over to you, sir.
So thank you to the entire NCRA team for giving a wonderful overview of the work that is happening, especially the region where GMRT is and the potential opportunities that are there. So thank you for all of that. We will definitely pick up some of these threads and move forward and also look at how many of your colleagues can benefit from taking up an IEEE membership, and we'll follow up on that as well. Moving on to session 2, I will request my colleagues from IEEE Pune section. We have Mr. Girish Kilari, who is our chair for IEEE Pune section. Girish has been a customer-centric engineering and business leader with a focus on technology, data and information, led enterprise management solutions for R&D divisions in systems, data and applications for various MNCs. We also have Professor Mane, and Mane sir recently got recognized for by the Pune University for his work as a principal of AISSNS IOIT Pune, and been one of our anchor members of the Exicom. He currently chairs the IEEE Communication Society for this section. We have Dr. Rajesh Ingle, who not only plays an active role in Pune section, but has been very active at the Region 10 level as well as at an India Council level. He currently chairs our IEEE Computer Society, and he is a professor of computer science at EICT in Pune. And finally, we will have Dr. Manisha Dale. She is the IEEE Signal Processing Society Vice Chair for the Pune section, Associate Professor for MES COE at Pune. So with that, I will hand over to Girish sir to give an overview of the IEEE Pune section. Girish, over to you.
Yeah. Am I audible? Thank you, Dina. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So IEEE is Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, and it's the world's largest technical organization. And the main motto is transforming lives through a power of technology and education. So basically what Solanki sir just mentioned, that we can take a few activities related to education and affordable agriculture. So yeah, it is very well known for such kind of activities. And electrical and electronics engineers and all the specialized branches of electrical electronics like computer, signal processing, and other related branches. We all know that electrical branch is the mother branch, and then all the aligned branches are also part of IEEE. So just to give you a quick overview, there are more than 400,000 members across the globe, and then more than 60% of whom are from outside the United States. And there are more than, out of those 400,000 members, more than 107,000 members are student members. And then the entire IEEE is divided into 10 geographical regions. And then India falls under Asia Pacific region, which is the region 10. So that is one division of IEEE. Another division is there are 39 technical societies. So each such society can form the chapter, each section can form chapter of any of these societies. In Pune, we have 6 such chapters out of 39. And we are growing very fast, and then we are adding more and more chapters under Pune section. So there are 342 sections across the world, and just like Pune section, there are 342 sections. There are 2,562 chapters of all these societies, what I was just talking about, 39 societies, and then local chapters together are 2,542. Then there are more than 3,000 or close to 3,500 student branches across the globe that IEEE has. So this particular slide talks about the enhancing public understanding of engineering and technology through advancing technology for humanity. Then under Pune section, we have few affinity groups. So when we talk about IEEE in totality, there are 580 affinity groups. Out of them, in Pune section, we have Women in Engineering, Young Professional, SIG for Humanitarian Technologies. And then as I mentioned, out of this 2,500 chapters, we have computers society chapter, signal processing chapter, society chapter, then power and engineering and industrial application, PES, IS society chapter. We also have education society chapter and communication society chapter. As far as special interest groups are concerned, we have affordable agriculture, and Solanki sir has touched upon some of the areas that section is currently focusing on. There is another special interest group in healthcare that we launched last October in 2020, and we are doing many activities under that as well. Then another special interest initiative under Pune section is STEM to STEAM. Okay, so that is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and we are adding arts to it. So that becomes STEM to STEAM. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Yeah. So some of the highlights about IEEE Pune section. This is the youngest IEEE section in India out of the 12 sections. Then we recently got awards: Outstanding Medium Section Award, Best Membership Growth Award, Outstanding Section Award, Humanitarian Activities, all at Region 10 level, that is Asia Pacific level. And the key initiatives, as I mentioned, Special Interest Group in Affordable Agriculture, then STEM to STEAM, then Eureka is another flagship event that Pune section is conducting every year, and it is like enhancing the knowledge of school students through college students of those who are members from IEEE members. They go to villages, rural areas, and some underprivileged areas, and then they teach students about the latest technologies, and then they create interest. Then another key initiative is Pune Austin Sister City that is there under Pune section. Then Chhabriya Award for Women Achievers. So this is like 4th year. We have successfully conducting this function for last 3 years. This is the 4th year that we are recognizing women across India. And this year we started including friendly nations. So SAARC nations in and around India. So there are 15 such nations are now part of this Chhabriya Award initiative. Then we also own a flagship annual conference called PuneCon. This is like the 4th year that every December, sometime around mid-December, we conduct this international conference, and it is completely run by section with the help of some institute. So this year it is at MIT ADT, okay, and then the conference will happen in December. Then we also sponsor events, training programs. Then there are many workshops and international conferences in Pune. So altogether, close to 200 such technical events section. There are various activities or events that are happening under IEEE Pune section. Close to 200 such events. Then we also have Smart City Hackathon. Then we do energy audits under PSIS. Then collaboration with bodies like MCCI and Pune International Committee. Then we have a program called Shunya, where we are collaborating activities with Kelkar Museum as part of our STEM to STEAM initiative. Then we have many technical competitions. Then student fairs are happening, mentoring programs are happening, curriculum design that our members are involved in, many awards, then faculty development programs, newsletter, we arrange field visits, then panel discussions are happening, technical discussions are happening, paid workshops on Digital Industry 4.0 talk series is going on. Technical projects, we sponsor them, and then we mentor, guide students who are doing technical projects. Then talks by distinguished lecturers from across the globe that we organize various society chapters. They have their own distinguished lecturers, and they invite them. Due to pandemic, the physical presence is not possible last year and this year. But we are doing that online with distinguished lecturers across the globe. And there are, so as I mentioned, there are more than 200 such activities happening around the year, and then various society chapters are instrumental in organizing them. Then there are more than 25 vibrant student branches in Pune, and Pune section is only bound to Pune city. So just in and around Pune city. So that is where our focus is, and that's where the section is really working as far as boundaries are concerned. So, and we are growing very fast, and we are looking forward to take a few initiatives with NCRA. With that, let me introduce Dr. Pradeep Mane, who is the chairman of Communication Society of IEEE Pune section. He heads Communication Society chapter, and then he's also principal at AIS SSMS IOIT Pune, and as Dina mentioned, he is recognized as the best principal of the year 2020. So welcome, Mane sir, over to you. Then there are, let's go back one slide. Then there are, there Sunil Somani sir is communication. No, sorry, basically Pradeep Mane sir is the Communication Society chapter chair. Dr. Rajesh Ingle is the Computer Society chair. So that anyways, once the Mane sir is talking about Communication Society, then we will go to Computer Society next, and followed that with Signal Processing Society. But as far as Communication Society is concerned, Mane sir, Somani sir, and Jadhav sir is part of this committee. Okay, so over to you, Mane sir.
Thank you very much. Once again, a very warm welcome and good evening to all the honorable panelists and all the attendees who have gathered over here for this, I should say, the auspicious day of the Astronomy Day, and wishes again for the Astronomy Day. So I'll just quickly go through what the Communication Society is doing. So I won't take much of the time. Just to focus, the first thing is that the IEEE Communication Society's focus is basically on advancement of the science, technology, and application communication related discipline. As what we have, the vision of the IEEE as a whole is advancement of technology for humanity. In the same way, the IEEE Communication Society's vision is advancement of science, technology, and communication for the purpose of humanity. Around the globe, this IEEE Communication Society is almost in 140 countries. It regularly publishes magazines, journals, newsletters. There are 34 industry publications. The IEEE Communication Society organizes 43 international conferences annually, and it fosters also for the educational programs. It has got many online programs which are available for the students and the faculty members also. And the IEEE Communication Society also has the career awards, service awards, and paper awards. Next slide, please. Then coming to the activities, as Giri sir already mentioned, in India, we have the IEEE Communicate at the India Council and at the Pune section also. So at the India Council also, there are many activities taking place under the Communication Society of various regions, as we have the Pune section, then there is the Bangalore section, then we have the Madras section, and so on and so forth. So there are many activities which are being carried out at the India Council level also. But coming to the specific Pune region section, to mention a few, every year we have the project competitions for the UG and PG students. We organize international conferences. We have the short-term training programs, workshops, and distinguished lectures, as already Giri sir said. And some social activity like blood donation camp has already been organized. Next slide, please. Now, the important thing which I'm coming to is the last slide. We have been hearing from speakers from GMRT about what they expect from us. Almost most of the things are covered, and we are also in the same boat, saying that we would also like to collaborate with GMRT in the same fashion. As we know that IEEE has selected GMRT as the milestone facility in November 2020, and we hope that GMRT we can have a very strong hand-holding with the IEEE Pune section, since we are very near, or we are in the vicinity of GMRT as such. The things which we expect as Communication Society is already Mr. Suresh Kumar pointed out that we can have webinars, we can have expert talks, or we can also have some project competitions together. And this is the things which we would also like to have as Communication Society. But one thing I just want to mention over here is that since GMRT is also having some work in the areas of antennas, and currently in the Pune section, we do not have the antenna and wave propagation society. But there are few members like me, Mani sir, and there are others also who are members. My request over here is that if we have few members from the GMRT, we can also have one addition in the Pune section as the Antenna and Wave Propagation Society. So this is one of the thing which I would like to say. And then the member benefits, most of you may be knowing, but just to again repeat, so there are a common desire is to continuously learn, interact, collaborate, and innovate, get the resources and opportunities, get involved in standard developments. A very important thing is because since GMRT is working into the area of communication where they are involving the computer field, they are involving the communication, they are involving the signal processing, and lot many things are there. And I hope that the experts from GMRT can also get involved in standard developments and standard settings. The network with other professionals in the local area, which we have interest and even GMRT is doing. Then collaborate with IEEE colleagues and obtain access to the largest library of electrical engineering, computer science, and electronics. Again, the last request once again that I would like to make is that I would request the members from GRT to be member of the Communication Society, as well as, if possible, we can form the Antenna and Wave Propagation Society at the Pune section. So with this, thank you very much. Thank you.
Dr. Ingve?
Yeah, good afternoon. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah, good afternoon and best wishes on World Astronomy Day. It is great to hear Yashwant Gupta sir, Suresh Kumar sir, Yogesh, Dr. Yogesh Vadadare sir, and Solanki sir. It's a very good input to all of us in the society chapters and as well as the section where we can have a possible collaboration. I will just brief quickly about IEEE Computer Society, its activities and possible collaboration quickly. So as a non-profit organization, IEEE Computer Society is dedicated to helping the technical community connect and advance research. IEEE Computer Society is a global network of technology professionals which provides computing and IT professionals with trusted, high-quality, state-of-the-art information and on-demand basis. IEEE Computer Society members network is 168 plus countries and with 221 chapters. And in fact, in more than 75 years, IEEE Computer Society members have played a central role in the rapid evolution of computer technologies, and more than 225,000 community members who are dedicated to the advancing all aspects of computer science and engineering. So if you see over here, there are many activities. What you can see, I mean, I have just displayed quickly the computer.org and the other where we get all detailed information. As far as the activities we have conducted in Pune, I would like to just announce here quickly. PuneCon is already established as a flagship conference of IEEE Pune section. Now I am announcing here that we are starting the IEEE Computer Society's flagship conference, International Conference on Blockchain and Distributed System Security, which is already approved by IEEE. It is IEEE's official conference and going to be held from 16 to 18 September at MCCI premises. And IEEE different groups are going to be part of it. IEEE Computer Society India Symposium we have organized, that is at the national level. Then the details are also available in this website, which is live and available. We have also conducted various workshops, including AI on applications at Bhau Institute, and where the speakers were from, like Nanyang Technical University, NTU Singapore, Justin Dowells and other people. And we had a very good participation in that area, and we had signal processing and other aspects over there. International hackathons we have conducted with Austin City. Then IEEE All India Computer Society Student Congress we conducted at Yashoda, which was very successful and funded by IEEE. So we conduct many webinars, hackathons, distinguished visitor lectures, and expert talk, etc. So maybe we can go to the next slide for possible collaboration slide. So we have next slide, please. So we have various courses of Computer Society available. So maybe I've just given in the chat box also the details. All those who are interested may go through this and have the more details on it. So there are many software professional certificate programs and many other awards and scholarships available. So as far as the opportunity for collaboration is concerned, which is already, I think, a win-win situation for all, whatever Gupta sir, Suresh Kumar sir, then Dr. Yogesh has said, and definitely we will be able to come out with something concrete, initial few projects, and we'll go ahead with it. First and foremost, as I think it is voiced by many, organizing conferences and workshops together. That is first thing what we can immediately do and go ahead. We can have possible collaborative projects. We can have hackathons. In fact, another thing what I think Yashwant Gupta sir has talked about, application of modern technologies. So whatever new technologies are required for possible application of that, IEEE Computer Society Pune chapter will be happy to help you in that. AI, ML, big data, IoT, signal processing, communication and networks. We can very well go ahead with that. Webinars, expert talks, internship, training and other initiatives which we can go ahead. So this is a quick input from my side, and we'll be happy to have a collaborative initiatives to go further at IEEE Pune section and IEEE Computer Society Pune chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ingle. So let me request Dale Madam to take over and then have a quick updates on signal processing.
Okay, good evening one and all. I, Dr. Manisha Dale, greetings of the Astronomy Day today. Okay, and I am representing as a Vice Chair of IEEE Signal Processing Society Pune chapter. So IEEE it is the first society of IEEE Signal Processing Society, and it is spread over hundreds of countries and having more than 90,000 members in all the countries. Mainly 42% of the members are from industry, so that is the major achievement, and 50% of the members are from faculty members and student members. This is the fourth largest of IEEE's 39 societies which are there. IEEE Signal Processing Society gives awards or honors every year for research work in the signal processing and their involvement in the IEEE and signal processing. So it has many transactions and journals and highly recognized conferences every year, and there are many technical and educational activities which IEEE Signal Processing Society carry out. So this gives an scenario worldwide of the Signal Processing Society. Now, as a Pune section, we as other sections or other societies organize, we also organize distinguished lectures, faculty development programs, expert lectures, workshops, project competitions, particularly in the signal processing and image processing project competitions and international conference. Few of the events which we have organized in 2020 are listed here, but just there are some of the few to mention or to give an idea what the Signal Processing Society Pune chapter does. And we have carried out distinguished lectures, workshops on artificial intelligence and machine learning, expert session on augmented reality. We have carried out expert lectures on time frequency domain analysis, and I think these all areas are main thrust areas in communication and signal processing society, and these are also very useful and will help in the collaboration with GMRT and NCRA. So as Dr. Mane sir and Dr. Ingle sir has rightly pointed out that GMRT is mainly in the signal and image processing and in communication domain. So we are open to collaborate for faculty and student development programs as well as for the technology exchange through project competitions or having some internship for the students and staff at the GMRT by arranging the conferences. So this is from my side for IEEE Signal Processing Society chapter Pune. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Dale
Thank you, Dale madam. Girish sir, I'll just give a quick update on those of you who are listening into this event. If you have to become a member of IEEE, you can go to the IEEE.org site and it has the details around membership. There are two types of membership. One is professional membership, and there is also a student membership. This year, given the pandemic situation, IEEE has given a 50% discount on student membership, and I would encourage the students to make best use of the discount that is there and get yourself a membership. The advantage, as you heard from all the society chapter chairs and vice chair, is about the access that you have to the type of content, journals, conferences, and various opportunities to connect with the experts globally across India as well as in the Pune section. So we look forward to all of you considering being part of the IEEE community, and we'll help you through the process of getting yourself the membership. Moving on to the third session, it is about the Pune Knowledge Cluster, and we will want to hear from Dr. Ajit Kembhavi on the Astronomy Citizen Science Program. Before I hand it over to Dr. Kembhavi, I'll just do a quick introduction. As Dr. Ajit Kembhavi, most of you probably know about him for his role at IUCAA, but he's currently the principal investigator for PKC. Professor Emeritus at the IUCAA at Pune, which he was a founder member. He also serves as a vice president of the International Astronomical Union. He has played a very significant role in development of astronomy as a research area in India. As a dean of visitor programs in IUCAA, he was also responsible for the growth and sustenance of several programs held in IUCAA and across India for promotion of astronomic research. As a director of IUCAA, he played a lead role in cementing India's participation in several international projects, including the Southern African Large Telescope, the 30-meter telescope, and the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, LIGO. So with that, I'll hand over to Dr. Kembhavi. Samiksha, if you can give control to Dr. Kembhavi, please.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dina, for your introduction, and I thank you and IEEE for inviting me to this event. I'm going to be talking to you about the citizen science astronomy, which has been a very major program in many countries for more than a decade. But it's also there in India, but we want to increase its presence very much. So I'm not going to say very much about the Pune Knowledge Cluster today. I've done that before and will be doing that in the future again. The Pune Knowledge Cluster was set up by the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, Professor Narendra. And the aim is to bring together various industries, R&D organizations, as well as academic institutions to work together for the betterment of the city. So what we have been doing is to start projects in the general areas of environment, health, then sustainable mobility, big data and AI, and we also have a very vigorous program in capacity building. We are taking up citizen science as a part of the capacity building program, as I will explain now. So what is citizen science? So you could define it as the process of public participation and collaboration in scientific research. Because we keep informing the public about our research, they're interested, they're excited. But the question is, without being scientists, could they become active participants in our program? So it turns out that one could really induce them and get them to contribute to data collection, monitoring of various programs, data analysis, and even in interpretation. So it is not that they're just doing something which requires labor, but they can become a part of the scientific process end to end. Now, citizen science has been practiced in across domains, but it has been particularly useful in astronomy, where large, very highly effective programs have been undertaken, and several are in operation at the present time. So who participates in astronomy programs? Here, citizen science. This, of course, applies to all other domains too. So they are members of the general public, interested members. They can also be astronomers, advanced citizen enthusiasts, students, interns, and so forth. But what is very important here is to get the general public to participate, because as we'll soon see, very large numbers are required. So astronomy is generally a game of large numbers, right? So for example, we have got a lot of astronomy data now, and the data goes in petabytes. And so you can see the GMRT, you have been hearing about it this evening. It's continuously 24/7 collecting a great deal of data. And it just keeps adding up. But there are other surveys, other telescopes which collect data even at greater rates because they operate at different wavelengths. So how much data do we have now? Now you see that, just look at galaxies. As many of you are aware, a galaxy is a collection of a very large number of stars. We ourselves live in a galaxy which is known as the Milky Way galaxy or Akashganga. So very large number, meaning about 10 raised to 11 stars. And there are these fascinating shapes with which we are quite familiar because of the many wonderful pictures that you see. So how many galaxies are there? Now, it turns out that the observable universe has about 10 raised to 10 to 10 raised to 11 galaxies. Right? So the universe could very well be infinitely large, in which case there could be an infinite number of galaxies. But however bigger our telescopes may be, we are limited to observing about 10 to 10 galaxies because as we do that, as we reach that number, we're hitting a wall. So of this very large number, we have something like 100 billion galaxies already in our catalog, and of which a billion or so have been studied to any extent. But that's not the end of large numbers, because each galaxy contains about 10 raised to 11 stars. Right? So 10 raised to 10 into 10 raised to 11 gives you 10 raised to 21, which is a very, very large number. And of these stars, we have got already catalog which have billions of stars in them. So take it that we know 10 to the 10 stars, of which about 100 million are probably being studied. Right? And then planets. Now, we had only 9 planets for a long time. One of them was demoted. So our solar system has only 8 planets. But starting in 1995, we have been discovering planets around other stars. And then we now believe strongly that every star has at least one planet, but more likely a planetary system. So you're talking of 10 to the 21, 10 to the 22 stars, of which we have now studied observed about 10,000 already. Right? And then the technology is expanding very rapidly. So you can just imagine, given 10 to the 21 planets, even if a very, very, very tiny fraction of them have civilizations like ours, advanced civilizations, then we really are talking of very large numbers of civilizations here. So then what happens when you try to study these objects? Now let me look at one specific example here. Now this one here in the red square is a beautiful picture of a galaxy known as M51. You're just looking at the galaxy face on, and you're looking at the splendid spiral arms. Now, these other 2 galaxies are also spiral galaxies, whereas the third one is a lenticular galaxy, and you find that each one of them, in its central region, but extending quite a bit, has got a linear structure. This linear structure is called a bar. And now these bars are very important. They occur in about 40% of the galaxies. They are very important for the evolution of galaxies. So for the astronomer and the astrophysicist, it's important to see under what circumstances bars arise, in what kind of galaxies are they present, for how long do they last, are they induced by collisions of one galaxy with another, fraction of one galaxy with another, and so forth. But for us to be able to study it, we need to find galaxies, bars in a large number of galaxies. We need to find them reliably. We need to distinguish bars from other structures which could pretend that they are bars, but which are really not bars. And then when astronomers do that, they actually have got collections of only thousands of galaxies, 2, 3, 4,000 galaxies, where you can reliably say that, look, this is a bar, even though we know that they occur in about 40% of the galaxies. So imagine trying to set up an AI system to find bars in galaxies. So I take my, I had to construct the AI system here, which we did a few years ago with a postdoc of mine, Philo Abraham, and other collaborators. And then, so you set up a deep learning network with a fairly complex architecture, and then you train this network with this rather small number of galaxies that we have, and they're just thousands. But as you know, in order to train deep learning networks, I need tens of thousands of objects. So you do data augmentation by rotating these galaxies and so forth, train it, test it, and then use it to detect galaxies with bars. And when we did that, we found that we could do it pretty well, meaning that we have got an average precision of about 94%. So which means that if you give me 1,000 galaxies, I can reliably tell you in about 85-90% of the cases which of them have bars and have a recall of 94%. Right, so but now this is a simple problem. As you already seen in the picture, galaxies are very complex structures, and if I want to work with them, then I still have a long way to go. If we are doing it all the time, I spend much of my time either working with people on developing new AI techniques for galaxies or referring papers which do that. Right, so which means that there's a lot of activity, but it is at its infancy. And therefore, you still need human experts to do it. But human experts can go only so far and no further. They have not got any further than 2,000. So the question was, can we get together citizens in their hundreds and thousands, okay, to help with classification of galaxies? So this was a marvelous project called the Galaxy Zoo, which was carried out in the US, started in 2007. And through this project, a very large number of galaxies have been classified with the participation of citizens, and wonderful catalogs have been made. These catalogs are freely available, and a large number of research papers have already been written or they're going to be written. Now, the first data set in 2007 had 1 million galaxies. Now, from this data set, 50 million classifications were received by the project during its very first year. In fact, the people who set up the project thought that they would just get a few thousand people to participate. But the number of people who participated in the first round were 150,000 people. And they classified 50 million galaxies. They provided 50 million galaxies, many of which are classifications of the same galaxy carried out by many different people, because that gives you a good method for assessing the reliability of classification carried out by people who are very enthusiastic, very dedicated, very hardworking, but who lack the expertise. So that is the new element. And how do we do this? So they make very nice user interfaces. And then you can see here, there's a particular galaxy which appears on the screen. And then you have to choose the galaxy profile to say which kind it is, whether the spiral thing is clockwise or anti-clockwise, or whether it's an elliptical galaxy, and so forth. Now, the people have made very sophisticated workflows for this. So, for example, you start here. This was the previous thing which I showed. Then, if it is elliptical, then how rounded it is, and so forth. So, you look at it, you spend some time staring at it, and then you go on answering these questions basically by clicking on these things so that you provide your classification. Now, this, as I told you, led to hundreds of research papers, and it has not stopped at astronomy. Now there's something called the Zoo Index, okay, which provides a platform for citizen science participation. And now, so far, I believe this was until yesterday, the numbers keep changing. There were 590 million classifications, more than 591, half a billion classification, which have been carried out by more than 2 billion people. So now you see that India has got a population of 1.3 billion, as we know, and if a very, very small percentage of them participate in this, we can beat this number easily. So the question is, how do we do that? And that is the challenge which the Pune Knowledge Cluster, led by Dr. Disha Sawant, is undertaking. So we want to try our hand. See, everything which is easy has been done. So we are left with doing more difficult things. And we are trying to set up pilot projects. And for example, here in the galaxy here, and there are two galaxies. These are not high resolution images. We can have better images than this. And so you see here is that there is a structure here which is called a shell. And here you can see a faint structure which is called a long tail. And then here they've got multiple shells. So several of us have been interested in finding such structures in galaxies. As you can see, it's difficult. It will, because they are faint, it will be difficult to get an AI system to do it, though we are all trying hard. But human observers can do it much better and much more quickly. So what we are doing is to set up a program to carry out this kind of work. And then here, the related problems is, so you see that these are rounded galaxies and these are long tail, outer streaks, the things which are connecting different galaxies. So there are many of these special features which you are interested in. Those are images, but we could also go to spectra. And so this is the spectrum of a quasars. Tens of millions of these spectra are available, and some multiple spectra are available, like shown in these pictures. And then the question is, are these spectra, do the spectra remain constant in time or do vary? We know there's a lot of variability, and so we are going to set up a project for finding variabilities. So I've come to the end of my talk. I won't exceed my time. So what is the action that we are planning? We want to calibrate ourselves. We want to see how well we can do. We want to design these web interfaces. So we are identifying a few hundred volunteers at the present time from astronomy clubs, from colleges and so forth. So people who have some familiarity with astronomy, not as professionals, not as research students, but people who are interested. There's a very large number of such people like that. And then we will ask them to participate in one of two, or we'll have 2 or 3 programs going. The project is one of them. We'll provide them training through Zoom sessions. Okay, then we'll provide them data through web interfaces, and then they will provide the classifications, which will collab, curate, prepare catalogs, and then we want to scale up to much larger numbers. Because now when you go to larger numbers, we'll need the good websites. We can handle that, good servers. And then we will require fairly automated processes for both serving the data as well as receiving the classifications and then analyzing them. We have got a small team of people in the PKC doing that, but we also have help from friends in different institutes, experts in these matters, and we hope to launch. We were planning to launch it last month, but we thought that the situation is so bad and that we thought we should just really wait, and it doesn't seem appropriate to give a lot of publicity to this, which we need to do to collect volunteers and so forth. So maybe next month is the time when we take it. I'll just end by talking about some other programs that we are undertaking. And this is all a part of what we know as astronomy for development. So here you are not working for the development of astronomy, which the NCRA and the IUCA and so many other people are doing it all the time. But we want to use astronomy for development, for helping people. So you see that here are visually impaired people. People who have either been visually impaired for some years, but all people have always been visually impaired. How do you tell them about astronomy? And so for that, there's been wonderful work going on with making tactile mobile exhibitions and so forth, and also a more sophisticated thing of sonification. Okay, so we are undertaking this program too, and I believe that help from organizations like IEEE would be critical for us in our mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajit, for a very detailed and insightful view on the work that is happening as part of PKC, and I'm sure there is a great amount of interest that you would have kindled based on whatever you have shared. So thank you again. In the interest of time, what I would like to do is quickly have Professor Yashwant Gupta and Girish Khilari sum up the overall event and give their perspectives on how they can potentially collaborate, between NCRA and IEEE. So Samiksha, if you can just give me sharing right, please. Yeah, so let me start off with you, Professor Gupta. How do you propose and areas that we should focus on, or based on what you heard, on the areas of expertise that IEEE brings in. Would like to have your views as well.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's been a very interesting afternoon and early evening listening to all of this. And there are quite a few ideas that come to mind as one has been listening. And maybe one should divide this into maybe the three broad buckets. One, which is the core technology areas that we talked about that we work with in GMRT. And there I think we heard from the three societies of the Pune section. And we should be able to form a small group which explores some of these in close cooperation to see what is it that we can come up with. I mean, I think that needs a bit more of delving into the details and figuring out which of the areas and how we can work with. I see potential for students getting involved. I see potential for faculty that IEEE is in touch with getting involved in working with us. And there's one topic we didn't touch in this discussion, which is about technologies that are of interest that are there in GMRT. If those are of interest in the broader spectrum, then whether IEEE can help us in that dissemination. So I think we should set up a small working group that can probe this. The other thing that was definitely quite interesting, because IEEE has a good setup for the affordable agriculture and the related technologies, and that we see as a very interesting application in the GMRT region. And there's a significant interest. We should be able to again set up a group which really works out the modalities for how this can be done. And I see that as a segue, because we talked about whether we, use the work with the local agricultural colleges or the other entities for doing this. It could be a natural segue into the kind of thing that Suresh Kumar was talking about, which is then, that could be the first thing that you try to set up something which is a technical activity related to agriculture, seed that in some of the local colleges, and then see how it works, and then grow from there, go on to the wider spectrum of technical activities with the local colleges. So I think we should be able to work out something over there. The other broader kind of a thing, which is outreach and citizen science and those things, I think we can again have a small working group which looks at, because what we see there is the reach of the IEEE in terms of a large body of students that are connected who can help. And, as Ajit Kembavi very correctly pointed out, there's very large volumes of data that we generate, and Yogesh could easily talk more about what we do with the archival data and how much more scope there is for doing new and interesting science with archival data. And that's goes a bit more into the astrophysics than into the techniques, but there is interesting things there, even techniques wise, in order to make those things better and more efficient as signal processing and computing tools. So there is quite a few possibilities. Let's see what Girish has to say, and then we can work out. I would say my way would be maybe 2 or 3 working groups to focus on the areas that we think look easy to take off with, and then grow from there.
Yeah, thank you, Yashwanji. And I think the area that we probably did not cover from an IEEE perspective is our education society activities, and Girish did mention about it. So especially the work that we are talking about, the student outreach and even the citizen science program and things like that, we should definitely have a discussion with the education society team from IEEE. So Girish, over to you to quickly summarize and your perspectives.
Very nice program. I must thank Yashwanji and his team, then Ajitji, Dina for arranging this, and we are really looking forward to collaborate. And as Yashwanji mentioned, this working group will certainly help taking these initiatives forward. Okay, so thanks a lot for arranging this, and this is just the beginning, right? I must say.
Yeah. So thank you, Girish and Yashwant, to quickly summarize the overall proceeding. I just wanted to, before we conclude, just wanted to give a view of all the upcoming events which are being planned from the section, so that you are all aware. They, as you can notice, they spread across various areas, various institutes are actively involved in either in a webinar or a conference which is coming up, and plus our flagship conference on IEEE PuneCon that Girish mentioned, which is being hosted by MIT ADT. The last event is last update is about the event that is being organized by the Education Society, which is next week. We have Nilesh Oak talking as part of the ACOM sessions that we have been having, and he has done some amazing work, with the data science, its application in Indian epics. And I have had the opportunity to listen to him, and I'm sure we will all enjoy listening to his perspective and his work that he has been doing. So with that, I will thank all of you for joining us on this International Astronomy Day event that we organized along with NCRA. Look forward to doing more such events and collaborating further with NCRA. So thank you all, and good evening and stay safe.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.